Hello, I'm Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity and creator of Bogash Life and Balance. And today we're going to talk about what might happen after concussions. And we generally, concussions can happen everywhere. They can happen in sports, they can happen in combat, they can happen in car accidents, they can happen with falls. As a chiropractor, I see concussions relatively frequently, especially as they relate to car accidents. Anytime your head gets jostled around, it has the potential to damage your brain. And most concussions actually heal with just some careful attention and heal on their own, but some do progress to what we would call as post-concussive syndrome. And that can be from headaches to neck pain to disorientation to problems with memory to speaking. There's a lot of things that can go south with post-concussive syndrome. And we have always thought that people kind of hit a point and then they stay stable, but it turns out that that might not be the case. In this particular study, researchers looked at a bunch of combat veterans who had and had not experienced head trauma as a result of being in combat. And they followed these veterans either at 1 year, or starting at 1 year, and then followed them up to 5 years. And they found that a disturbing chunk of these people didn't actually stay stable, they got worse. So to me, that means that we're not focusing on protecting people's brains, which we should do right from the get-go when somebody has any type of head trauma. And the way I always think about it is we can create bruising on the brain, and a bruise involves red blood cells and free iron. But once a red blood cell is damaged, that iron can be released. When iron is attached to a red blood cell, it's perfectly fine and it does what it needs to do. But once that becomes free and not attached to hemoglobin anymore, iron becomes a very strong oxidizing agent. Think of rust, and that's why things get damaged. So if we don't stop and protect that, then that oxidative stress just becomes a snowball effect, and we can have a hard time to control that over time. So it's important to protect your brain even without a concussion, but definitely after concussion. And here's a couple tips that you can follow to see if you can do everything you can to protect your brain. The first one is just to stay active. We know that people who suffer concussions, that if they exercise what's called sub-threshold levels, so basically exercising just under what it takes to bring on symptoms, that those people do better than the people who don't exercise at all. So staying active, not just after a concussion, but for a lifetime. Certain brain nutrients, things like magnesium, specifically the threonate form, which is believed to pass the blood-brain barrier better than other forms of magnesium. It's a little bit more expensive, it's patented, but we're talking about your brain here, and it might be worth spending a little bit of extra money. Coenzyme Q10, vitamin D, essential fatty acids help stabilize the membrane, the cell membrane in our neuronal cell membrane. And melatonin is another potential strong antioxidant in the brain, as well as vitamin E, but the right types of vitamin E. So don't buy a straight up alpha tocopherol. Make sure you buy a mixed tocopherol product. Otherwise, you may be doing yourself more harm than good. High phytonutrient diet, so really a plant-based diet without all the crap and junk and processed and fast food. And avoid toxins, things like heavy metals, so cigarette smoking. Stress is not good for the brain. Sedentary behavior is just the opposite of what we'd expect. But also, our office, we're kind of excited, we're adding a mild hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And so that's another tool that some people who have had concussions might be able to use to better manage, to improve oxygen delivery and better manage their brain after an injury. As always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.